On August 15, 1947, Mahatma Gandhi wasn't in Delhi to celebrate India's first Independence Day. He was in Calcutta, fasting and praying to quell the brutal communal violence tearing through the city. Lord Mountbatten called him the one-man boundary force in a nation facing an incredibly painful reality on the ground, highly produced triumphant spectacle. The speech was live translated into 22 languages by AI, celebrating what is now an estimated $4.15 trillion economy. During that 75-minute address, Modi made a specific, audacious claim. He told the nation that the development work that had not been done in the past 5 to 7 decades would be completed in the coming 5 to 7 years. That places a massive deadline on roughly 2031. To hit that target, we have to look past the political optimism echoing from the ramparts and audit the actual economic math required to pull it off. To organize this sprint to 2031, the government unveiled a new framework called Saptadhara, translating to 7 streams of strength. It's a deliberate callback to the Sapta Sindhu, the 7 ancient rivers of Vedic geography, casting economic policy as the civilizational lifeblood of the country. This graphic shows how those 7 streams break down. They cover manufacturing, agriculture and food processing, technology, infrastructure, defense, the green and blue economy, and soft power. Pursuing all 7 simultaneously aims for Viksit Bharat by 2047. But flip the labels, and you don't find fresh capital. Saptadhara simply consolidates older missions, Make in India, Gati Shakti, under one repackaged umbrella. Grouping disparate policies into memorable, numbered frameworks is an incredibly effective tool for maintaining political momentum. But because the money and the mechanisms are largely the same, the only way to predict this engine's future success is to audit how these specific policies have performed so far. If we open the ledger, the data strictly backs up the government's rhetoric in a few highly targeted sectors. The green economy is the clearest example. India has crossed 505 gigawatts of total installed power capacity, and as of mid-2025, over half of that comes from non-fossil sources. They hit that 50% mark a full 5 years ahead of their mandated schedule under the Paris Agreement. The defense stream, or Raksha Shakti, shows a similar trajectory. For decades, the military relied heavily on importing foreign hardware. Now, the mandate is to transition from a global buyer to a global supplier. The accounting here is solid. In 2013, defense exports sat at just 686 crore rupees. By the 2025-2026 fiscal year, that number surged to a record 38,424 crore, reaching over 80 countries. We see this repeated in electronics. Production value has skyrocketed over the last decade, and today, 99.2% of all mobile phones sold in India roll off domestic manufacturing lines. When aggressive government policy, targeted subsidies, and global market demands perfectly align, the Indian state has proven it can execute complex industrial growth at a massive scale. But the high-tech wins in defense and electronics mask severe lags elsewhere. If we look at the agriculture stream, we find a sector that still employs over 40% of the entire national workforce, yet farmers only capture about a third of the final value of their produce. In 2016, the government made a highly publicized pledge to double farmers' incomes by 2022. Based on the last official survey data and independent economic assessments, that target was missed by a wide margin, leaving rural earnings far below the promised threshold. This chart tracks the macro reality of the manufacturing power stream against the government's stated goals. Despite flashy headlines about the PLI, or Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, the actual share of manufacturing as a percentage of GDP has remained stagnant, hovering around 17%, well short of the long-promised 25% target. As a result, the National Manufacturing Mission has quietly revised its own deadlines. That 25% goal has now been pushed all the way back to 2035. Even the physical infrastructure projects under the Gati Shakti stream are struggling with implementation lag. The flagship Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train is emblematic of this. It faces an 83% cost escalation, and its completion date has been pushed to the end of the decade. Building national infrastructure and shifting millions of workers into higher-wage jobs isn't a branding challenge. It requires navigating economy-wide bottlenecks, land acquisition, labor laws, and deep structural friction that consistently defeat top-down political targets. Which brings us back to the Prime Minister's core timeline, compressing 50 years of systemic development into roughly 5 to 7 years. The underlying data shows exactly why that velocity is improbable. To become a developer of cutting-edge technology rather than just a consumer, you need foundational research. But India's national research and development spend sits at just 0.64% of GDP. Compare that to global peers like China and South Korea, whose investments sit between 2.4 and nearly 5%. Grand slogans and numbered frameworks are brilliant at unifying a vast nation around a shared purpose, but rhetorical momentum cannot overwrite the fundamental math of deep tech and institutional investment. To accurately judge India's economic trajectory moving forward, you have to separate the signal from the noise. You can ignore the explicitly aspirational goals from the Red Fort speech, like organically creating 50 Fortune 500 companies or a top 5 global bank, which have no stated pathways. Instead, watch 3 metrics over the next 5 years: manufacturing's GDP share, farmer income growth, and actual PLI disbursements. That last one is crucial. While the government announced massive PLI outlays, totaling nearly 2 trillion rupees, actual payouts hitting factory floors remain a tiny fraction. The true measure of a fully developed India won't be achieved through an August 15th speech. It will be decided by the grueling, unglamorous execution of these long overdue promises.